That would be it. Thank you very much.
Jarrell Cook, California Manufacturers and Technology Association, in strong support.
Good morning, Brenda Palomino here with Brent, also in strong support, and thanks Senator Waisel for his leadership in this technology. Thanks.
Dennis Albiani for Track Phone Wireless in support.
They got 3.
Susan Peterson-Lipper with T-Mobile, also asking for your support.
Mike Robeson on behalf of Qualcomm in support.
Gloria Colas, I'm supporting the Bill 649. Just to name a few organizations. Southern California Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Could you just say if you're in support of the bill? We've got a lot of people. Thank you.
649. Thank you.
Hi, Alexandra Brenter with the Downtown San Diego Partnership in support of the bill.
Ruben Franco with the Orange County Hispanic Chamber in support of the bill.
Any additional supporters of this bill? And we're going to take testimony from opposition, and we had 3 people in support, so we're going to do 3 in opposition up here today. Thank you very much.
And can we request 2 equal procedures? One is equal time, because we noted that was 15 minutes, and 2, equal props. They were able to bring in their prop. We brought one to the station here, and it's sitting in the security office in the back. We'd like to ask that to be brought out so you can see the prop of what the power supply looks like for the alleged pizza box antenna. It's the size of a refrigerator, and I brought it in, and we'd like to see it. May we have the security office please bring it in?
Sir, Chief Manning. Say, sir.
Yes.
You had already talked to someone you asked permission earlier. What did they say? They told you no.
No, what I said earlier is I brought this in, and when I made an agreement...
But you talked with Chief Manning, and you asked her, and she said no.
Just so you're clear what happened, I brought it in, and I got it through security. I was outside. It was my own personal property that I put in order to show everybody today.
Yeah.
The gentleman who took it from me took it on one condition, that he would actually carry it in during the meetings so we could all see the size of it. That's important. Well, I don't understand why it's not fair to see it.
Well, my sergeants are telling me the procedure is no.
Why?
So.
Why?
I mean, I would like to see it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's bring it in. I brought it all the way up here from Petaluma. I constructed it specifically on Sunday. It takes 30 seconds to show it to you. Let's bring it in. It's huge. It's 5 square cubic
If you can do it in 30 seconds,
I can.
I'll time you then. How's that?
Perfect. Bring it on in. I'll just do it for you. No, so he knows exactly where it is, so we're asking him to bring it in.
Why don't you proceed with your testimony, because we've got a lot to do.
Yeah, no problem. We'd love to do that. So thank you very much for the time today. I will be entering into the record today substantial scientific evidence in the public record and my testimony. I've read and quantitatively evaluated many peer-reviewed scientific Dalbert Rule Supreme Court admissible scientific studies that conclude direct damages to human beings and living organisms from radio frequency microwave radiation, or RFR for short. I'm not speaking about issues of concern. I'm not speaking about risk. I'm talking about established biological hazards from RFR exposures that this bill would put 20 feet or as close as 12 feet to second-story bedroom windows in every residential community. That is much too close for antennas to be placed near where people live and sleep. The 4 studies I will introduce today supplement the over 100 studies that about adverse biological effects from RFR exposures at many, many times lower than any federal RFR guideline. We brought those studies to the Senate in 2015 to oppose AB 57, Assembly bill very similar to this one that was co-authored by the same Assembly member. Both bills are clearly ready, fire, aim bills. They're unnecessary gifts to the wireless industry because mobile wireless coverage in California is complete. There was testimony given at the federal level on March 2nd in the U.S. Senate. 99% coverage for calls and texts across the U.S., including California. That is called complete. And calls and texts are the only essential activities covered by the 1996 TCA. And that makes that now coverage is complete. There is no need for any additional coverage or any antennas for that coverage. The only thing we're talking about is capacity. And there's a difference between capacity and coverage, because only essential activities, such as calls and texts, can preempt local ordinances. Once you get into capacity, we're just talking about watching videos here, folks, something that's frivolous, then you cannot actually have the authority to preempt local ordinances as this bill is trying to do. So what we want to do with our demonstration is to show you the size of the electrical supply that is actually being allowed by this bill. In addition to this prop here, which is relatively small, the bill actually says the antennas can be 3 to 6 cubic feet. I know of no pizza box at my Domino's that is 3 to 6 cubic feet. That's just a marketing branding lie. And now in addition to that, you put the power supply. The power supply for this thing is 28 to 35 cubic feet. That is larger than a refrigerator. I don't know why. We still don't see my thing. It should be here by now.
But I get it yourself.
I'll be happy to at the end. But I sent pictures to every one of the senators to show me standing inside this box. It's 2 feet by 3 feet. This hall, right. It's amazing that that will go next to almost any pole unfettered or any non-pole structure unfettered, regardless of what the local community wants to do for its own character and for its own needs. The answer is...
Can I interrupt you just for a second?
Yes.
I have a question for the chairman.
Sure.
I'm confused on, typically we have a lead opposition, and they come up and view their opposition, and then there's me too's. Are you the lead opposition for this consortium? If not, I think you should have a limited time, just like everybody else did, and give it to the other
Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to start with Syrus then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, because I'd like to point out that the bulk of the opposition respected the procedures of the committee and waited to be called up before we came forward. Thank you. I'm Syrus Devers. I represent the Protect Our Local Streets Coalition, which was a lobbying coalition created specifically to oppose this bill. This bill prevents local governments from charging fair market rent when the wireless companies want to profit from using publicly owned local lands. Members, that's a subsidy. It may not look like one, but it's just one level of government forcing another level of government to provide the subsidy, so it's still a subsidy. You've just heard all the benefits of a 5G system. Please keep in mind that these benefits are not being offered as a public benefit. Wireless companies charge the public as much as they can for their services, and it's great that they're very profitable. The problem is that they're asking you to subsidize it. I'm, of course, referring to subdivision C of the bill, which is where the rent is limited when using public property to pole attachment rates. Those rates are so low that it's effectively no cost. The number of the pole attachment rates are designed to moderate the relationships between utilities when they attach to a pole, a shared facility. That has no bearing to other public properties. It has no bearing to a building or parking structure. So this is, in this context, the pole attachment rate is really an arbitrary number that was picked out that favors the wireless industry. And they're asking you to put this in statute. That, if you step back and realize that they're asking the legislature to step in and set the value of someone else's property, non-state property, but the legislature is setting the value, and they put it in a bill. So my question to you is, why should the public pay full value, full market rate for these services, and then have to turn around and subsidize it? Every dollar you take from a local government has to come out, either be made up in taxes or be made up in cuts to services.
You told me to get my prop.
Now,
Would you like me to go get it?
Yes, sir. Go get it.
Sir, hold on. We're not going to bring that in here. If you want to set it up in back, you can set it up in back. There's a place there. And then if any of the legislators want to take 30 to 45 seconds to see it, they can do it. But you can set it up out there by walking around. We're not going to bring it in here. It's too.
I heard you. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
shall I continue? Thank you. I know they've tried to sell you on this bill with a tale of woe about how they're being gouged by greedy local governments, and that they've kind of tried to hint that they really can't build a 5G network, without a little help from you, a subsidy. I had a lengthy explanation already as to why this is a false narrative, but it turns out it's not necessary. Verizon did it for me. In an article that came out last week when they publicized their 5G rollout in Sacramento, the Sacramento Bee picked up that article, and I'd like to read you one sentence out of that article. This is about the 5G network. It's faster than current fiber cable networks, and here's the important part, and it doesn't require those expensive hard lines to work. That's why they're going to build a 5G network regardless of what you do or you don't do. They want to compete with cable, and small cells allow them to do that at a fraction of the cost. And it gets worse the closer you look. Not only did cable companies not get those government handouts, they actually have to pay for the use of the public right-of-way. I hope you're starting to see how this subsidy is bad in every possible way. What the wireless industry is paying local governments in rents is pennies on the dollar compared to the value of a 5G network. But let's set aside the dollars and pennies for a moment and let's just talk policy, the policy of giving subsidies. If you're of a more conservative point of view, please identify for me one industry that's ever been made more efficient through getting a government subsidy. If 5G can't be built out without a subsidy, maybe 5G should have stayed on the drawing board a little longer. If you see things differently and you think local governments should do more, should do more of their resources and revenue streams towards a public benefit, would the wireless industry really be your first choice? When you see this, the request to subsidize them under in this context is really outrageous. And they're just waiting to see if you'll blink. And my job is to say, members, this is time to blink. This is a subsidy that has no place, doesn't benefit the public, and is anti-competitive. So even if you are sympathetic towards this bill, even if you want the conversation about permit streamlining to continue, that does not require you to also support a government subsidy for a profitable industry that is building out right now. So that's my request to you is if you have sympathy and want to see this bill forward, please do so and support that, but please don't support the subsidy that this bill hands out. Thank you.
Next opposition.
My name is Lena Pu. I'm an environmental health consultant with the NACST, National Association for Children's Technology. Back in July 2016, FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler's speech said, "We will not let regulation get in the way." Well, what does that mean? Regulation. Health regulation, regulation protect health. Just 2 months before this speech was made, a vital study done by the NTP National Toxicology Program came out with a study. This is a $25 million study that was done within the U.S. It took 16 years to get the results. We got the results, and what the results were, cell phones were proven to cause cancer. And what do? We roll out 5G with even more radiation, electromagnetic microwave radiation. Do you guys understand what microwave radiation is? I would like to get your attention, please. If you can, I need to describe what microwave radiation is, all right?
Hey, you can speak, but you don't have to lecture. We're all listening. So could you finish up your thoughts? Could you finish your thoughts?
All right.
They could be typing down your information.
If you understand what 5G millimeter waves are, it is within the microwave spectrum, but it is within a spectrum where the waves are so short that it actually impacts your sweat glands. The helical structure of your sweat glands absorb in greater amounts, 90%, if not more, of the radiation. What does that mean? How many sweat ducts do you have in your body? Your body is absorbing all that radiation straight into your body through your sweat ducts. You have nervous systems that are connected to these things. And the nature of this millimeter wave, the way they have to facilitate this, they're calling it beam forming. This is a completely different technology here. We're not talking about omnidirectional microwave that is being spewed out currently that we're being bombarded with right now. We're talking about millimeter waves that has to be beam formed in order for IoT to function, for device to connect to device, all right? So these are inanimate objects we're talking about. Connecting inanimate objects with beam-forming microwave radiation in the millimeter waves. Now, what happens if a person stands in between these beams? What happens when people are in it 24/7? What if people are in their homes and these beams are beaming into their homes because these distributed antenna systems are on these light posts that are projecting these waves right directly into their homes, or they step outside their homes, they're going to be bombarded 24/7. I don't think you guys understand the health impacts that this is going to cause to the general public. Our health care is already through the roof. We have 40% of the population with chronic illnesses. 40%.
Let's stick on the phone, and you've got about 30 more seconds to finish your thought, because we've got a lot of, there's other people that we want to hear from.
We do have solutions, and it's not wireless. We have fiber optic cables that will ensure health and safety, safety on the level of non-hackable electronics. Can you imagine being in a driverless car and the grid goes down, and you've got terrorist attacks, and you're stuck in a car in the middle of nowhere? I mean, the entire electrical grid can easily go down and everything will shut down. Your refrigerator will shut down. Your toaster won't work. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So
appreciate your.
Please vote no for SB649.
Thank you very much. And we're going to have witnesses in opposition, but please just state your name, who you're affiliated with, and your position. That's it.
Mr. Chair, I think we have one here that's been sitting here.
Well, there's been 3 already.
No, I understand.
Okay,
but
well.
She's going to begin with a.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, is there any chance we can get a little bit of the local government concerns to kind of take a step back from what's been said and talk more about the process?
I would like to hear local government concerns.
Okay.
So, but if you could just make
I will take it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay. So good afternoon. Lauren DiValencia, representing the American Planning Association here in opposition to the bill. I think to take a step back from what's been said so far, we of course would associate many of our all of our comments, the comments that have been made by Syrus. We too support the comments Syrus has made, but from a process issue, planners are the ones that are implementing and processing these permits. And as the way the bill is written currently, there's a lot of language in the bill that isn't workable for us. There are terms in the bill that don't translate into the planning world. And so moving forward, we need to make sure that if we are asked to now process these ministerially, which we are opposed to doing, but as the bill is written doing that, we need to make sure that the terms such as only requiring one single administrative permit, what does that mean? Does that mean we can only require a building permit and not an encroachment permit when maybe both are needed? There's a lot of ambiguity in the language. And so we have a lot of concern around that. And I also, just moving on to just more timing-wise for the bill, it's noted in the analysis, the FCC is already looking at this very issue. They've solicited comments for streamlining the process of 5G. I don't know if, to us, it seems that the timing of the bill is unnecessary. Can we wait? Can we wait to see what is put forward at the FCC level rather than going ahead and doing something specific in California? The other issue is that, we understand that the technology is new and it's just being deployed. It's not in every jurisdiction yet. They haven't been to every jurisdiction. So it seems to us that the bill attempts almost to solve a problem that doesn't largely exist. And rather than anticipate the potential problems through legislation, we would suggest, and we can discuss this more, but we would suggest that we ask OPR to put forward streamlining processes such as a model ordinance and guiding principles that planners can use to help streamline this process. We want to streamline it too. We want to be able to provide certainty to the carrier, and we need certainty from the carrier as well. And so I think being able to look at it in other ways where we can all come to the table and all find a solution that works for everybody is something that we're open to, but we aren't open to completely taking away any authority of local governments to be able to work with carriers on this issue. And with all due respect to Senator Hueso, I just want to say that, we find ourselves in this same position every year, with one industry coming in and seeking to further remove local government's discretion about wireless structures. And now beyond that, we're looking at even mandating now the use of our publicly owned property. So we can't help but wonder, like the comment was made, who will be next?
Thank you for your reasonable arguments and your civility. Thank you very much. We're going to go back here. And we're going to take comments in opposition. State your name, affiliation, and your position only, please. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. My name is Amy Wolfson. I'm the city planner for the city of Nevada City. And we are strongly opposed to this bill due to its implication on Nevada City's historical district in particular, which was recently featured in Sunset Magazine and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And we want to preserve our discretionary authority on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tracy Ryan on behalf of the Rural County Representatives of California and also the Urban Counties of California in opposition.
Thank you very much.
Kara Martinson on behalf of the California State Association of Counties in opposition.
Mark Graham on behalf, on behalf of Scientists for Wired Technology. I have some documents for the record. 2 quick recommendations. Extend the same protection that this bill gives to fire departments to police departments, hospitals, schools, and libraries. And second thing, because the federal government has done such a poor job of regulating to protect against health effects, this state should do its own environmental assessment and amend the health and safety code to set standards and regulations to prevent health effects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Greg Cook, representing Northern California Power Agency. Mr. Chairman, I beg your indulgence. I'd like to present an issue that has not been addressed today, specifically related to those cities which have their own electric service, the impact on the electric utility, and I would strongly urge that this bill be amended to provide for the requirement of the utility director in those cities which have their own electric utility and own their utility poles be included in that permitting process.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Matt Klopfenstein with the Association of Environmental Professionals in opposition as well. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, Jason Ryan, League California Cities, also in opposition.
Good afternoon. Kara Ross on behalf of the cities of Murrieta, San Marcos, and the Marin County Council of Mayors and Council Members, all opposed.
Sarah Tahiri with the Southern California Public Power Authority, also in opposition.
Sylvia Solis-Shaw on behalf of the cities of Santa Monica and Beverly Hills, and we apologize for the late opposition. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Paul Gonzalez representing the cities of Roseville, Thousand Oaks, Indian Wells, Laguna Hills, Lakewood, and Norwalk in very respectful opposition.
Mr. Chairman, Connie Stewart with the California Center for Rural Policy in opposition.
Mr. Chairman, Dwayne Strasser, Mayor-elect Nevada City, California, without an exemption included in this for historically designated cities and or cities with historic districts being amended, we strongly oppose this as written. Thank you.
Eric Windheim, certified building biologist and an electromagnetic radiation specialist. When Comcast hangs their Wi-Fi hotspot on the utility poles in San Francisco, it means tens of thousands of dollars of lost income and thousands of dollars for shielding and hiring me, and ends up in lawsuits. Putting these things on wires outside bedroom windows is a recipe for disaster. I urge you to vote no.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, Carolyn McIntyre on behalf of the California Cable and Telecommunications Association. We are not here in opposition today. We are here to express some concerns about the bill and to thank and acknowledge the author and his agreement to continue to work with us to make sure that the bill is in fact technology neutral. As it's currently written, we do not believe that the bill would allow the same type of permitting process for what we call micro wireless facilities, which would be Wi-Fi antennas that we would want to attach to the same type of equipment and the same type of facilities that are described in the bill. In addition, we want the bill to be explicit as to what type of technology is not included, specifically the backhaul that leads ultimately, that these facilities will ultimately have to connect to in order to get to the actual internet. We do not believe that that has been, should be a part of this process. And then lastly, we'd like to thank Syrus for making an argument for us today. Our member companies have in fact invested billions of dollars over the years to build our infrastructure. We pay the right-of-way fees to local government in order to be in that right-of-way. We want to ensure that any permitting requirements under this bill do not require us to pay permits or franchises that we've already paid. To the contrary, we want to also make sure that the bill is not construed to relieve those new providers that now want to use this new infrastructure in the right-of-way to provide a service that would currently require a franchise or some other type of authorization. We look forward to working with the senator and resolving these issues. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, James Jack on behalf of CalTel. We too are noted in that third category listed in the analysis. We are very supportive of the Senator's goals to remove barriers to broadband deployment. We would just note that that broadband is being deployed over wireless and wireline facilities. Very appreciative of the Senator's commitment to work towards technological neutrality and appreciate your time today.
Good morning, Chairman. Good afternoon, Chairman and members. Jackie Keeney with Frontier Communications, also not opposed, just with concerns. We appreciate the author's goal of not having delay in broadband deployment. We want to work with the author and staff to make sure that any expedited process for small cell technology would not lead to delay for wireline providers who need to get permits from the same agencies, especially providers like Frontier, who are bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government for broadband deployment, where we have strict construction deadlines and don't want to experience delay and jeopardize those funds. Thank you to the author.
Thank you. And for our last comment, please.
Hello, thank you. My name is Renette Senum, and I'm a current city council member, former mayor of Nevada City, California. And for the last 40 years, our community has been working around the clock to curate this community that, as we said before, Amy Wolfson, our city planner, that it is made it onto the cover of Sunset Magazine. It was one of the most desirable places to live in the United States. That's because of the vision and leadership in Nevada City. Now, beyond that, I would just like to speak to, we are not asking you to streamline this because of the regulations. We're asking you actually to keep those protections in place. The protections are there for a reason, and this is the first time any technology has ever been unleashed upon Californians or Americans without some sort of regulation. We're looking at rights to privacy, we're looking at property rights, we're looking at loss of local authority, and to be honest, most Americans do not know what 5G really means.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to please think about this carefully. Thank you.
Any questions from the dais up here? Of course. Go ahead, Senator.